Hey guys, this is Carrie from Artstitution, and today I'm going to teach you step by step how to paint this coyote. I am using a 12 by 12 square canvas. You don't need that same size, you don't even need the same shape. If you have a different shape, you just adjust your composition accordingly. You might have a little bit more room on one of the sides, and it's just more room to fill up with other things that you can, be creative with. I am going to be using this medium flat brush and this small round brush. This is what I feel comfortable using. If you guys want to use something else, feel free to use something else. I have my egg carton where I put my colors in. These are the colors I'll be using to create this. And obviously, I don't have any of these colors in here, which means we have to mix colors, which is fun. So, we're all going to come out with different colors. So this really is not about getting to the colors that I have. It's about getting to colors that you like. You don't have to use this color scheme. If you don't like this hot pink or blue or anything like that, you don't have to do it. And really, I'm just here to guide you, and you can take what you want out of that, okay? So we're gonna start. I'm gonna turn this a little bit because there's a glare. We're gonna start by just filling up the canvas with paint. I don't like comparing any of my colors to the bright white, so I like to get rid of all the white first. So we're gonna actually draw the whole coyote out, and then we're gonna put our first layer of thin paint, and then we're gonna just build up from there. So I like to do all my mixing with this flat medium brush, okay? Just because it scoops out the perfect amount of paint. So how I'm gonna start is I'm gonna actually get to a medium gray, and we're gonna draw the whole thing out and fill that in with medium gray, and then we're going to do our first coats of the background colors. So I want you to take 4 scoops of white and 2 scoops of black, and I want you to mix that all in. That should get you a nice medium gray. And try to keep it in a nice little pile. So when you guys are doing this, I want you to make sure that your setup is comfortable, because you definitely do your best work when you're comfortable. You put some music on that you like, get a glass of water, or I like my LaCroix, my seltzer. I like to drink bubbles when I'm painting. I'm sure it's something psychological, I don't know. But yeah, I don't listen to music just because I don't. First of all, I can't figure out how to play music on my phone while I'm doing the video, but also I don't want to play music and it interfere with my teaching or with your music. All right, so I have my gray. If your gray isn't this color, that's fine. It does not have to be. So we're gonna just draw the whole wolf out first. So I want you to put an imaginary line down the middle of your canvas. That's gonna help you draw it out. And it's sort of like a grid, except we're only going to have it in quarters. So if you have an imaginary line coming down this way, an imaginary line coming across, it'll give you a better idea of where things go, okay? Also, if you look at where it's coming, the coyote is back's coming off the page here, and where it's coming off the canvas here, how far the ears are from the top, from the side. So we got to take all of that into account, okay? So if this is halfway in between, then I'd say like the top of the head is probably a quarter of the way. So if you just put like a little indication that that's the top of the head, okay? Now, if this is halfway here, then we know then that's halfway, and the back is a little bit lower than halfway. Let's just put like a little line there. Same over here. If this is halfway, I'd say this comes out a quarter of the way. So we're just going to put a little indication there. These are all going to be adjusted later, okay? So we have the top of the head here, then we have the ears, okay? Which is like just triangles. They're just triangles. Triangles that could be adjusted later. Okay? Now, when you're drawing things out, it's really important that you look at the negative space just as much as the positive space. So the positive space is the coyote. The negative space is everything else, okay? But the negative space helps you with the positive space, okay? And I want you to know that just because we're drawing it out doesn't mean that you can't adjust all this stuff later, okay? We're just drawing it out. So I want you to see notice how high the ear comes over here, okay? And if you want to make it a little thicker, make it a little thicker now. Coyotes have nice thick ears. And same thing over here. Make the ear a little bit thicker. Yeah. Okay, so we have this shape. All it is a shape, okay? Now we're gonna just paint it in. I want you to keep it really simple. Just paint all that in. The biggest thing about starting is I just want all the white covered. And this is called the underpainting. It's fun, and starting is the hardest part, in my opinion. Really anything, because you got to go from nothing to something, and it's hard to visualize it at first. But the more we get into it, the more you'll start to see it come out. Make sure to keep the paint nice and thin, because we're gonna hop to the back after this and do the first coat of all those colors in the back. But we want this to be nice and dry by the time we come back. Don't worry about all the brush strokes that you see. And don't worry, you can use the background to come in a little bit. So you can overlap the colors to help adjust your wolf. But it's hard to say how which, it's very hard to say to adjust your wolf now without its features on it. So we could always, we're gonna do some adjusting later. For now, just fill her in. I love coyotes. I love wolves. Actually, this could probably be a wolf, either or. All right. I like to do the edges too. So all you have now is a silhouette. That's all we want for now. So when you're done with that, wash your brush off. Dry it really good, because water likes to get stuck in this metal part, so just make sure it's really dry. All right. Now we have all these funky colors, but we're gonna do the yellow first. So I want you to take that clean, dry brush, and I want you to do 2 scoops of yellow. But I want you to add a little bit of white into that, okay? Not that I want you to make light yellow, but when you have white in there, it covers much better. And we're only doing the first coat now. We'll do another coat later. All right, so we have this yellow in between the sun. I'm just painting it in, nice and sloppy. Don't worry about anything being perfect. Okay. All right, so what we're gonna do next is we are going to do, just don't worry about washing your brush. We're gonna do 2 scoops of red onto our plate and 1 scoop of yellow. So I'm scooping from the edges so I don't have to worry about washing my brush. So we're just going to turn this into like a nice neon, pink. So I'm going to add some white to that, and you'll get this bright neon pink color. All right. So this is sort of like a hill on the back. Well, that's what it's supposed to be, but just be like an abstract painting and really mean nothing in the back. It's totally up to you. I meant it to be hills. So no matter what you're using, I want you to figure out how you want those hills to be and just paint them in. I like this painting because it's got a lot of brush strokes, and I like the way that looks. So I'm going to keep it with that brush stroke look. I'm going to do the sides. You see how I'm really not worrying about having it, you know, tightening it up right now. That right now it's a very loose painting. So we're going to move to purple, and since purple has red in it, you don't have to worry about washing your brush. So you're going to do 2 scoops of red, 2 scoops of blue. Now there's a million different kinds of purple. 1 scoop of white. So you could put a little bit more red or a little bit more blue. I just kind of did 50-50. And you're going to get to this purpley color. So I did 2 scoops of red, 2 scoops of blue, and 1 scoop of white, but I think I'm going to add another scoop of white. So I have 2 of everything. All right. Now you have a lot of purple, so you'll definitely have enough to do another coat with these guys. So you're just going to loosely do under here. Keep it thin because we want it to be nice and dry by the time we come back. Oop. Again, I like to do the bottom, but if you know, typically kids don't really care about the bottom. If this is a kid doing it, you don't have to worry about it. I just like it because when you hang it on the wall, it looks neater. Go over here, and anytime you feel like using a different brush, feel free. You don't have to use the same brushes as me. All right, so I'm going to wash that, and we're going to do turquoise. If you need to switch plates, switch plates. I think I could fit some turquoise right in the middle here. So I'm going to do 2 scoops of blue, 1 scoop of yellow, and 2 scoops of white. Now I'm going to add my next scoop in a second. All right, so again, there's a million turquoises in the world. You don't have to do the turquoise that I have. All right. Now you're going to do your first coat of turquoise. My brush is very gooey. Yours will be too, so just really try to spread that out as much as possible. So there's no goopy parts. You can even spread it to the sides. I hope everybody's doing a lot of art, a lot of creating while they're home. Looks like it won't be for too much longer. At least we'll see a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. Looks like. I'm looking forward to seeing everybody's faces and everybody's smiles. I miss people's smiles. It's so weird going out and not seeing people's mouths. So I'll definitely be looking forward to that. All right. So don't worry if you can see all the brush strokes. Does not matter. That does not matter. We'll tighten all that up later. That comes later. Got plenty of time. For now, just really spread that out. Don't worry if each of your colors gets into each other. It does not really matter. feel free to move your canvas around if you need to. Get into, if you feel more comfortable turning it on its side or upside down, definitely do that. Okay. All right. Then you're gonna wash your brush off. Dry it off. I'm gonna take a sip of seltzer. And we're actually gonna do a whole nother coat. So we're gonna do exactly what we just did, but we're gonna go around again. I want you to take your time, because the back needs to be dry. So really take your time. But now we can do a little bit more adjusting. And you can overlap the background too. But just take your time. See, I'm going slow. But the second coat will cover much, much faster. And don't worry about the edges and stuff, because we're going to be doing hair and stuff, and it's going to come out. So don't worry yourself about it. And the reason why I'm doing the small brush strokes right now is because I'm just giving myself a little bit more time for all this to dry around here. Don't rush it. It's my dog, Daisy. She likes to sit here and watch me paint. All right, so this is a building up process. We are going to be doing layer upon layer. So that's why I want your paint to stay nice and thin. If you've painted with other people instructing, they might not instruct the same way I do. I mean, everybody's different. This is how I feel is the easiest for me to instruct and for people to understand. It's not the only way though. So the important thing is you find a teacher that you feel instructs the way you learn. So you need to definitely click with their teaching style. And yeah, then you'll do your best work that way. All right. And at no point is there like a time when you can't adjust stuff. Like you can always go back into a painting. If you're like, oh, my ears are too big, I don't like my ear shape, I don't like this, you can always go back, you know. But I find the best thing to do is just let it dry, and then you'll be able to paint right over top of it again. It's when people have like an inch of paint on and you're just swirling paint around. That's when it gets kind of frustrating. You can't really do much when you have like an inch of paint on your canvas. So it's definitely worth it to take the time to step away and let it dry. All right, so like I said, don't worry about all the edges and stuff. We'll get back to that. All right, great. So now go around, make sure there's no pools of anything. Everything's all spread out. All right, when you're done with that, wash your brush off really good. And you are going to try to go in the same order as you did before. Just put the second coat. With everything. I'm not worrying about where I went, where you can still see some gray over here, there. Don't even worry about it. At the end, we're gonna fix everything up and all that good stuff. All right, so now I'm gonna go to the pink, and I'm gonna do another layer or whatever color you put there. It does not have to be pink. I'm not sure why I chose pink for that. I don't know. Who knows why you do things? I felt like it was, I don't know, this color scheme reminds me of, I don't know, like Arizona or something. The sunset. Alright. So wash your brush after that, and we're gonna, I think we went to purple. So we're getting the background done. We don't have to worry about that later. We just let it sit and work on our coyote. If you kept it thin, this should cover nicely. And even if we, at the end we could go around for one more coat. But don't worry about that now. As long as it's mainly covered, we are good to go. Okay, some purple here. Again, like if you don't want to do the edges, don't worry about it. Okay, when you're done with that, you're gonna wash your brush. Last but not least, this guy. So as you can see, my colors are not the same as those, and that's why I love mixing. I never get the same colors, and then you never get the same exact painting. So who wants the same exact painting, right? And so when I paint with a group of people, which is usually what I'm doing, I love the end when everybody shows each other their paintings. It's really cool. And everybody loves it because you get to see everybody's interpretation of a painting, because that's all it really is. It's interpretation. You'll have your interpretation of this. I don't sit here and teach you how to paint like me. That's silly. So don't worry if these colors aren't exactly what you want. We're gonna do one more coat at the end, and you can mix whatever colors you want, and it'll go right over them, and you only need one coat. So you can adjust your colors if you want anything lighter or darker. So don't worry about it right now, though. For now, this is all we need. And if you're happy with what you did, then this could be it. You are in charge of your painting. Okay, I think that's good for now. All right. So wash your brush off really good. Dry it really good. Now we're gonna get into it. So basically, this whole wolf is just a whole lot of layers. That's all it is a whole lot of layers of colors. So we're gonna take this paper plate and just put it somewhere else. So if you have another paper plate, of course I have a used one under here. Let's see if I have oh good, I have another one. All right, you're gonna need that other plate later, but for now, we will kind of start doing other colors. So as you can see in here, I brought some of the colors from here and here into the wolf, okay? So you'll need those colors later, but for now, what we're gonna do is just kind of go into it, and we're gonna mix some colors and kind of go back and forth with the colors in a layering kind of motion. So what we're gonna do first is the browns, just because I want to bring the nose out so you can start adjusting other things. So the base color of brown is orange. So we're gonna do 3 scoops of yellow, 1 scoop of red. So I don't know if I said this, I scooped from the edges, so don't put your dirty brush straight in the middle of your paint, because then you're gonna ruin the color. So, or you can just wash your brush. I'm very lazy when I paint, so I take it from the edge. And this, I've already done 2 paintings before this, that's why it looks all sloppy. All right, so now that I have orange, I'm gonna add some blue, just a little bit of blue. You can always add more. And we're going to get, I wanna get like a dirty orange color. If you get green, that just means you have too much yellow and blue. But you really wanna get it to that point where it's like really brown looking. If it starts looking blue, then you have too much blue. And then you have to just add a little bit more orange to it. All right, so now when you have a dirty orangey color, now you're gonna add just a little bit of black to it. Just a little bit for now. You should have your brown color. And there's lots of different variations of brown. You can add a little bit more yellow, a little bit more red, but you don't want the green color. So if you have that, just add, if you have green, just add a little bit of red to it. It should come back. Now that we have this color, you're gonna add a scoop of white. Now we're making it nice and creamy. Now it looks like milk chocolate. All right, cool. So I'm actually gonna wash my brush because it's like super goopy right now. And dry it really good. All right, so we're gonna take this brown and we're gonna just play around with it, okay? And it's hard to tell where the nose is gonna be. So I want you to just play around with starting to put brown places. Let's put some on the ear here. Keep it thin though. Try to still keep it thin. We start putting it around just to practice getting into the flow of using different colors. So see the edge of the ear, start seeing like the edge here. We don't want super thick paint because then we'll get into that issue where we're just kind of putting paint around. So I want you to visualize a line going across the middle of your canvas. So that eyes are gonna lie right in the middle of your canvas, okay? So kind of put some brown that connects the ear to where your eye is gonna be, just for now, nice thin. So you know that's about where it's gonna be, which means the nose is gonna be somewhere over here. So just start by just putting some brown by the nose, okay? Okay, so if this is the top of the eye, we can even just put a little indication that the top of the eye is going to go over here. It can move later, but just put, so you know it's kind of in line with those two. So you know the eyes are going to be there. So I want you to look at where the bottom of the mouth, how close it is to the bottom of your canvas, okay? So, and of course, it doesn't have to be all the way down there, okay? So if this was the middle of your canvas, okay, you know that this coyote's head is a little bit to the right. So we're not gonna go directly in the middle of the canvas, we're gonna come over here a tad, okay? And I just want you to put a little indication, a little circle. Let's do a circle. Let's do a circle where you want, like this. Okay, so let's do that. Again, it's adjustable. Don't worry about it. I just want you to fill that in. Fill that circle in. Thin paint. So, and I totally get that, you know, it's hard to visualize this at first. And if you go back and you're like, oh, the nose is too big, or too low, or too this, or too that, you can totally fix it, okay? So I want you to go, we're gonna do this curve, okay? So if this curve was continuing, it would be in line with this. So we're gonna just, if you don't actually touch the canvas, but if you go over this way, when you get to about here, we're just gonna curve it this way. Okay. Now we're just gonna kind of meet up with that brown that we had before. don't worry about what kind of lines you're putting, because we're going to have a lot more colors in here that are going to be overlapping. So don't worry. Don't worry at all. No worrying. All right, so let's, like I said before, I love this painting because there's so many brush strokes and colors and things. So just kind of have fun. And as long as you get a couple things in the right spot, and we'll go over that later, it'll look great. I mean, your strokes don't have to be every, where mine are or anything like that. We're going to adjust all this later. All right, let's see. The eye's going to go over here. Let's see, where else do we have brown? Let's just start putting little brown in the fur. There's a little bit of a glare on there. I can't really see. Okay. So we're just going to, don't worry if it's going to look like it's too much, but don't worry about it because we're going to go over it with other colors. We're just going to start doing, putting some fur in there. You might have to hold up your canvas a little bit. All right. And really, the colors you pick to go next and overlap is really up to you. All right. Let's see. While we have brown out, let's just add a little bit of white to a little section. And let's have a different color brown. And this color brown will go right in the middle. Just kind of, just a brush stroke. Ooh. Maybe some up here. Maybe some over here. Maybe some, let's do some in the ears. But what I love about painting like this too is that mine never looks like the original exactly. And I don't want it to. You can always go back if you want to put some in the fur, put some in the fur. We can always go back with any of these colors later. All right, so let's go. I'm not going to even bother washing my brush. I'm just going to dip it back in the brown. So what we're going to do is, you see this curve that we did up over here. Okay, so we're just going to take some brown to kind of even it out so it looks almost like a V. We have some brown here and then some brown here. So, whoop, whoop. I'm going to wash my brush. Dip it in the light part, and I'm just gonna put some there. All right, let's do some darker gray now. So let's do 2 scoops of white and just add some black. So I just want a darker gray than you have your original gray here. So we all have different grays, which is great. It doesn't have to be drastically darker, but you have to be able to see it. See how I can't see that? Sometimes you just gotta put a little bit on your canvas. All right. So I'm gonna start with the ear. It's the inside of the ear here. I think I want mine a little bit darker. All right. I'm just gonna start by doing the inside of the ear. You don't need a lot of paint. You're just gonna put some color here. We're going to overlap it later, so don't worry. Just the inside of the ear here. I like to feather it in because it starts helping me feel like there's going to be hair there. So we're going to do some the darker gray over here. But see how like I'm feathering it so it looks like hair? That's what we want. I'm going to put some down here. Let's put some for now. Put some in the fur. Just put some over here to separate the head. And again, we're going to put a lot more color in here. So I want you to just start feeling like that head is separate from, like it's coming out. So we're going to come over here, okay? And it's really important for you to see, rather than looking at mine, look at yours. And Make sure it's even on both sides, because now we're going to be making the head come around. So where this is, this has to be. So like I said, it doesn't matter what mine's like. You want yours to be even. And then I like to come out like this a little. This painting's all about balancing. So we're going to be kind of balancing all the colors out. And when you come to here, I want you to just start putting some hair. Even though we're going to cover it with other colors later, I just want you to get used to doing the hair. And it's all the different colors that are going to make it look like it's three-dimensional. So I like putting some hair. See how there's not a lot of paint on my brush? That's called feathering. And at any point you want to stop, pause me, and kind of mess around on your own. But the key is you just want to keep it thin so we can continue the layering. Again, if you have like tons of paint on your brush, it's just gonna take a long time to dry. And if you sit here trying to paint on top of it, you're just gonna be moving paint around. Okay. So let's see, let's pick another color. Let's see. Let's do some of that dark blue. So what we're gonna do is take some blue on your paper, on your paper plate. I want you to add the tiniest bit of black. So you're gonna get like a navy. See how black will overpower it completely? And I still want you to add a little bit of white to that. Okay, so it's nice and creamy. So you have this navy blue color. So now we're gonna come into here and just putting some color in, you know? And this color blue is different than that color blue, and that's okay. So we're gonna kind of put some here. Let's see, put some in here. Looks like I did actually purple in there. Yes, I'm going right over that darker color I did. And this works with, you don't have to do blue. You can do any color. I'm just gonna kind of see where it's gonna go. I can always cover it later. All right, so now let's do some in the fur. And I know you don't really notice it in the fur when you look at this as a whole. I'm gonna put a little bit more than I did in my original, just so you can see that it doesn't matter. You could use this with any color. So we're gonna use other colors too. I'll show you in a minute. I'm gonna put some up here. Put some here. Feel free to go put it wherever. All right, so here's the fun part. So now we're gonna take some white and we're gonna mix, I'm gonna only mix half the pile. So now I have a lighter version of this. And again, if you're doing a different color, just add white. Now we can go add some lighter variations like that. Put some here in the fur. Let's put some, and I know my colors here are different than there, but I'm doing that on purpose to show you. Well, you'll see. I'm going to put some in the fur. I'm doing it so you can see that it does not have to be just exactly the same. Okay, wash your brush. It's just about using color, different colors. All right, so we're gonna use a little bit of purple, and then we're gonna tone everything down. So I'm gonna go back to my purple, and I'm just gonna have fun with it. Put some wherever you want. I'm gonna put some here. I'm gonna mix some with this blue that I did here. I like that, the way it looks when you mix those two. Again, I have to hold this up. put some. Yeah. Yes, I know I don't have purple over here in my original, but I want it over here now. Then I'll put some in the fur. Okay. All right, wash that brush. All right, before we tone it down a bit, I'm actually gonna go, I want you to go back to, well, if you're happy with where all your brown is, keep it. I think I wanna just put a little bit more dark brown. I want it more contrasty, my darks and my lights. I actually might even make my dark brown a tiny bit darker. So, see where there's the darks and the light browns? I am not happy with how the contrast is, so I'm just gonna make mine a little bit darker. And at this point, we're gonna have a nose here, so you don't have to, you can either go all the way down with the brown if you want. It's totally up to you. Put some darker brown up there. All right. And then I'm just gonna go over what I did with the lighter brown too. See, this should be dark enough. If you squint your eyes, it helps. It'll help you see where to put the lights and the darks. Gotta go back and make mine. Sometimes you gotta do it more than once because when it dries, it looks different. It's not as light or not as dark as what you wanted, which is what happened to me. Let's see here. So now, yeah, that's better. Alright, cool. So I'm going to come down here. If you didn't before, I want you to just come down here and make this lighter. Okay. Let's see. And anywhere else you want to really put it, you can. But now we're going to tone everything down by going back to our original gray, because everything's very bright right now, so we need to kind of like bring it together. So we're going to go back to our original gray that we painted our whole guy in here, and we're just going to kind of go over, just blend everything. I don't want you to cover all the things we just did, but I want you to kind of just make some hair overlapping and stuff, so it's not so crazy. So when we go down here, maybe it's better to start down here. You're just not, I don't want you to cover it, but I want you to be able to see your colors through, if that makes sense. So, see how I'm making hair? You definitely don't need a lot of paint on your brush. I'm toning it down. And you could be as toned down or crazy as you want. The ears are always good to start with because it gives you kind of practice. And this is where I like starting to go outside the edges here to start making fur. even though we're going to go around and I'm going to have you outline everything in black. I mean, you don't have to, of course. See, I'm going over these colors. You could still see the colors through. I'm just going over. And at the end, we're just going to go over it one more time with some colors to adjust everything at the end. So if you want some pop of color, that's what we're going to do. All right. Don't worry about all the darks because we're going to get to that. We're going to be putting darks in here too. Cool. All right, so I want you to take this gray. I want you to add, just on the edge, just add some white. So now we're gonna get to like a nice lighter gray. Again, it has to be noticeable. If you want to pause me so you can work on this a bit longer, totally can do that. So I'll show you my gray. So it needs to be noticeable. So I'm going to wash my brush because it's super goopy. All right. Now I'm going to take this lighter gray and I'm going to go in. I like to flatten my brush like this and use it as like a razor blade like this and get like whiskers and hair much better. But I don't want a lot of paint on the brush, okay? I want it to be subtle. And if you did white, white would be a little bit too contrasty right now. You could take this gray and come back in here, put a little bit down here, and there's going to be a line in the middle here, so we're just going to do a little bit of a highlight like over there. All right, so here's where we're going to start to try to figure out where the eye is going to be, and you could always adjust it later, but I want you to just to put a little bit of that gray here. Okay, and pretend like the black eye is going to be here, and you're just going to, it's like an eyebrow or something. Put some up here. I never really like to use a whole lot of paint because I always like to go back and overlap and go slow. And this is definitely the kind of painting that you want to overlap. But it's also the kind of painting where it's impossible for you to make it exactly like the same every single time. So even me painting another one over, there's no way. With all this hair and all these brush strokes, so I would never expect anybody else to come out like exactly like mine. The biggest thing comes later when we're doing all the black to make it look like a coyote. And right now it looks like a bunch of blobby colors, which is exactly where you want to be. So again, if you squint your eyes and look at that, you can see where all the lights and darks are much easier. And when you do the white part of the eye, just make sure that you do the same thing on the other side so they're even. Okay. You can always adjust it later. Just put a little indication of where the eye is going to be. And it'll help you kind of do the eyebrow thingy. The reason why I'm having you do that is so you kind of have a better visual when we go to put the black in. All right, so we're going to take this gray, and we're going to do some white in here too. But we're kind of working up to that. So we're going to come back over here. some white. So now you have these beautiful colors that you can see through the fur, which is what we want. Okay. All right, where to go next? Where to go next? Let's see. All right, before we do, all right, let's put the eye in, because then we can do black around the eye, and that'll be nice and dry. So we're gonna mix a lime green by mixing yellow and a little bit of green. But here's the tricky part. You're gonna add a tiny bit of black to that just to tone it down. So it's gonna turn into almost like an army green looking. Color. All right. And you don't have to have your eye green at all. Now we're gonna mix a tiny bit of white to that just to make it creamy like the rest of our palette. So I'm gonna actually use this tiny brush. So the eye can be adjusted later, okay? But for now, all we're gonna have is just a nice kind of green circle. I'd rather you make it bigger and because we can overlap the black, but right now I just want you to put the green. Does not matter so much where, because you can use black later to cover up. We just want our first layer in there. All right, so here's where I want you to play around with some color. If you want any other colors in there, like I want a little bit of a lighter blue, so I'm gonna make a light blue. If you want to put any other colors besides what I used, you can do that. Now's the time. If you want to get funky. If not, you can fast forward. I just wanted to put a little bit more of this blue color here. I like this blue. It's a little brighter than that. I think I'm going to go for it. And that's okay, you know. This painting works with different color schemes. It does not have to be the color scheme that I'm using. Okay. All right. So now we're gonna go to black. So get that brush. You can use, I want the bulk of the brushes nice and clean. Okay. And you are going to, actually, you know what, before we do black, since black spreads easily, I want you to do your last layer on the background. Because the reason why I'm having you do this before black is so if you go to do this later and your black is still wet, guess what? It's gonna spread. So here's where I want you to really get the color that you want. Because that's it. After this, we're gonna have that finished. So if you want to alter any of your colors from the back, in the background, do that now. I'm going to just make mine darker. I think oopsie. I think I'm gonna make my, well, I might stick to this color scheme. I like it actually, but I do want another coat in the back. Typically, kids don't care about, having too many coats, so the age group that are gonna be doing this painting is probably gonna be very varied. So, little ones, if you don't want to do all these layers, you don't have to. You could just skip over them. Fast forward. Adults, who are a little bit more picky can do the layers. Or if you're an adult who does not care about layers, you don't have to do the layers. I like having the layers nice and covered, personally. There's no wrong in that, in anything. We all do whatever we want to do. I'm going to tone this blue down here with some of that purple. But really, this looks, it really doesn't start coming out until we put the black. And it's like, whoa. But it's important to be patient. So in the end, we just kind of adjust the darks and lights, and that's really what brings them out. And also, doing the background allows me to kind of step away for a little bit. So with this painting, again, it's all about where you're putting the darks when we get into there. And I know it's scary putting black on top of all this at the end. And if you feel like you messed up or anything like that, I'm gonna say pause me, wait a little bit for it to dry, and then go back into it. Because if you go back into it when it's wet and you try to fix things, sometimes it gets very frustrating because you're really just kind of moving the paint around and it starts getting muddy. It's just better to just go do something and come back to it. Okay, so I'm gonna put another layer for my eyes. So they're in there. Does not have to be neat because we're gonna go over a lot of that with black. I just want that color in there. I might tone down. And here's the time you wanna make any adjustments that you want. I'm going to adjust my brown. I feel like my brown is just too dark. It's bothering me. So I'm gonna fix it. I feel like this part is way too overpowering. So yeah, now is the time to fix anything that you feel like you don't like. So I'm gonna tone this down. That's better. It's hard to like get the right color here. Okay, that's better. I'm gonna tone this down. You'll see why. Mine totally dried so super dark. So if that's what's happening to you, and you just want to add some more white to your brown, which is what I did. Made it a little bit lighter. Better. Still looks like it's going to dry really dark. Try that again. Let's try that. Oh, I put more than I'm thinking white than I need. So let's try that. If you love your contrast, just ignore everything that I'm doing. I am totally covering it. And instead, I just covered it all up with the lighter color. And instead, I'm going to make the lighter color even lighter. Maybe that'll work. See, even teachers have to adjust. That's a lot of this painting is adjusting. All paintings are. I mean, at the end, it's fun to kind of go around with all your colors and adjust everything. All right, let's try this again. So now I'm gonna just add white to that. Instead, we should be on our way. Yeah, that's better. Much better. There we go. That makes more sense. All right. And even though that's not the same colors as I used, that's totally fine. So like I said, squint your eyes and you'll be able to see the lights and darks much better. I squint all the time. Sometimes it's hard to tell where the lights and darks are. All right, so now that we have everything and you're happy with everything, we're gonna just put a layer of black in the back. So watch this. Take your black, and I like to spin it so I have a point on my brush. And you're just gonna, I use my, my pinky as an anchor, and I just went around a very thin layer. And I kind of just outlined it, but when it dries, I'm gonna go back over it with whiskers and stuff so it doesn't look like it's so outlined. Okay. So that's why you need to keep this really nice and, what do you call it? Thin, excuse me. It's like I can't think when I'm painting. So I like the sides to be nice and thick. Some spots, but I don't like to do it evenly around. But I like to come in with the paint like this. And then when I do the whiskers here, just, and don't worry, because you're going to overlap in the opposite direction. So it won't look as weird. Alright, so while this is drying, I know it's definitely hard to keep that thin, I know, trust me. Tendencies, you want to make it really thick. You can make the line actually thick, like wide, but try to keep the paint thin. So get all that around. So we're going to work on working on the outside now, then we're working on the inside. And then we're going to come back out to the outside. So again, I like to do sort of like hairs, especially over here. I've started doing that. See how I'm using the black to make hair? You might have to lift this up. It's going to look funky because we're going to go in reverse after this. All right. So, without using a whole lot of paint, we're gonna put some black into here too. Put some here. Gonna put some in the fur. Don't worry, we'll tone it down later with the gray. At this point, I'm going to switch to this bigger brush. You don't have to. I just like the way it feathers better. And just put it wherever You think? Let's see. All right. Now we're going to put the nose in. So what I want you to do first, actually, you know what? Let's use the small brush first. All right. So what we're going to do, again, I'm going to use my pinky as an anchor. You're going to put some black here. I didn't go all the way up there with the black. I kind of just made it look like, I love how it looks like all liney and choppy. You can put whatever kind of line you want there, and you're going to come just across here, and this is the part you kind of want to get right. Okay, it doesn't matter, nothing else matters in here. Okay, and I made mine a little bit thicker over here. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. You can come back up here. You could make some lines up here. But I made this little mouth under here. It's like just like a little half circle. Then I went up like this, right in the middle of that half circle, okay? And then I made a little very wide Y shape, okay? A wide Y, okay? And now it almost looks like a circle, like almost like a meatball. Because it's not perfectly round. And don't worry if you want to go back and change the shape later, you can. But for now, keep it thin. See, I love all the sloppy lines. It also gives you kind of a little bit more leadway with the shape. Take your time. Make sure there's no pools. All right. So now we're going to come in over here. We're going to put some black over here. We're just going to get started. We're going to start kind of going up the nose. So you have that here. Then you're going to go to the edge of where you put the brown. Don't worry, if you don't like your nose or whatever, I'll show you ways to adjust it after this. So where you put your brown, you're just going to come up a bit. When you get to here, we're going to curve to the right. Just go straight across. Okay? When you get to about here, you're gonna end it with the end of the eye. So when you come up, there's gonna actually be a circle around this eye, okay? And I want you to go slow. You could always take it in a little bit, so. Start with that. And remember, you want the circle to be flat on top, so it's like almost like a half circle. Otherwise it'll look like he's very surprised. Okay? Now all the rest of the room here, you're just gonna come up like a triangle. You're going to do a circle inside that circle. Go slow. And if you feel like you have to turn it upside down to help get better leverage, do that. All right. So the thing about this wolf is when we go to do the other side, you want to make sure that this eye's even with the other eye. Okay. And I know everything looks very bold right now, but we're going to go back and soften everything up. So don't worry about that. Okay. So this eye, if you go straight up, you see that this nose is even with that eye. So go straight up. So mine's going to be here. Then just go kind of visually go over, cross over. Don't touch with your, don't make a line with your brush. Just try to visualize this being straight across. You do the same sort of thing. Except you're not going to go all the way down. The eye is the hardest part, in my opinion. And if you mess up, it's not a big deal. I will show you how to get it back. All it is layers. Okay? I don't know, I hope that makes you feel less scared about it, but honestly, it's like acrylic paint's the easiest to fix. Alright, and keep it thin because we're gonna go back over it with some green, some highlights. Right now we're just getting something in there, okay? I'm gonna turn it over. If you turn it over too, sometimes you can definitely, if you look at it from a different perspective, you can see where you make mistakes. All right. So if your wolf Coyote looks mad, okay? It's because the eyebrows go down like that. Eyebrows like that. So if you have them down too much like that, you can make it look sad. Okay? Or mad. Sorry. I'll be all right. All right. Okay. So. I'm going to make my nose smaller, and I'm going to show you how. Actually, let's let that dry just a teensy bit. Let's go with white, okay? Once you wash that middle brush off, dip it in the white. I want you to kind of go like that. Now we're just going to do some, oops, that's way too much paint. We're going to do some highlights. Try to be careful around some of your black. But you can start, as long as it's dry, you can start kind of overlapping some of that black, just to soften it up. So you're gonna have some bright white here. Okay, so see how I'm going over my black here? As long as it's dry enough, you should be able to do it. See how it's softening everything here? And even if it like mine wasn't dry here, even if it combines, that's totally fine. It just makes a gray. And then you can just keep going. See how it's softening up. Let's see. I like how it looks when you like contrast the dark with like the bright white. And see how I'm going over my black. And then I'm going to add some, I'm going to stay away from the eyes for a second. Yeah, give it some time. So, if you don't like the shape of your nose, the nose of your shape, whoop, all you have to do is go back to the brown that you had, and mine looks like it's probably still wet. It probably is. But anyway, you could see, you could go back and reshape it. See how easy it is to fix it over. You overlap. See that? So don't ever be scared about making a mistake, because everything is fixable. Okay? Everything. I know I'm going in a little bit more than I want to, because I want to just go over with the black again. But I just wanted to show you how simple it is to fix. See? When you know those things, it makes it less scary when you're painting. I know it looks like it's lighter, but this is the brown that was drying so super dark, so it's gonna get darker as it dries. All right, so I'm gonna let that dry, and then I'll go back into the nose. All right. So let's soften up some of the eyes. I'm just gonna go back in here. All right, so I want you to take the white that we were just doing. Make sure your brush is clean and dry. And I want to start doing, make sure it's nice and pointy, so you make it flat like a razor blade, or use the tiny brush. I like using this brush. And then I'm just gonna, wolves and coyotes have these almost like eyebrow looking things. You do that. I want you to do some under the eye. Do some under there. I like to overlap a tiny bit, overlap the black, just to make it not look so bold. I'm going to do the same thing over here. If you want it bold, keep it bold, but I'm kind of toning mine down a bit. And you do the same exact thing. If you don't like your eye shape, all you have to do is go back with the original gray that we had and go over it. You know, and there's no time where you have to stop overlapping. You know, you can keep going into this. You know, go into this as far as you want, really. Okay. And do you see how you don't necessarily need the same colors? You can do different colors. It does not matter. I mean, my colors here don't match my colors there, and it's fine. So I'm going to go back into the green of the eyeball, and I'm dried up, so I gotta make more. So you want like that olivey color, so you're adding a little tiny bit of black and yellow to a green, so you want olivey, and then once you get a nice color, you just add some white to make it nice and you want it nice and creamy like all the rest of our colors. I'm going to just do another coat of that green, and I'm going to overlap some of that black so it doesn't look like a cardboard cutout. And again, these steps are like, you know, I don't expect little tiny kids to do. These are adult steps. All right, so then once you have that last coat, you're gonna add some, I like lightening up green with some yellow and some white. So you just need a lighter, a noticeably lighter green. And all you're gonna do is put green. Oh my god, this is so goopy. Just at the bottom. Okay? Just at the bottom. Mine, I'll make mine a little bit lighter so you can see. I don't know if you could see it too good. So you're gonna put it at the bottom like that. Put it at the bottom like that. Okay. And of course, this down here did not dry dark. What the heck? I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter. It still looks cool. I mean, I'll keep it like that. Oh, I'm gonna reshape that nose real quick. And then I'll show you how to put the highlight on the nose. Which is super duper easy. All right, so for the nose, all you have to do is add a tiny bit, and the contrast does not have to be big at first. So you want just a gray, because you can barely see the lighter gray, but there's like 2 steps. There's that the white highlight on the top. So you're gonna take that gray. Mine is a little bit lighter than that, so you guys can see it, and you're just gonna go over just to the top part of that. And then you're going to just do the bottom like that. So top, bottom, okay? And then you are going to take the white and just do a highlight like that at the top. It's going to turn gray because it's wet paint. So you can either wait or just get it in there. I just want that highlight there. I like to kind of put a little thing there. Then you're going to do the same thing with the eye. You have one little highlight gleam on there. And then when you're all the way done, that's when you can go around and sort of adjust things the way you want them. And everybody's different. Like, now that you know what you did and how you did it, you can go back and sort of make sure things are even on both sides. You could add color to it. You can add, you can make things skinnier or bigger. Like right now I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, well, I could probably bring the purple in a bit over here. So watch how easy this is. If you want to just bring in the purple a little bit. Okay, you can just adjust it that way. And then I would just go back with my black and kind of redo that spot. But as you can see, like with this painting, it doesn't really matter. Like the eyes are a little bit closer, the face is a little bit different, the face is a little bit bigger. It doesn't matter, stuff like that. It doesn't matter. Everybody kind of will be doing their own thing. And to be honest with you, nobody ever sees the original anyway, so nobody would ever know. So, yeah, it takes the ending's sort of the most fun, because then you get to go back and, adjusting things is well, it's definitely, I think, the most fun, because then you can kind of really make it your own and make it different. Turn the TV off and, don't worry about what mine looks like, and just go to town with yours, and just have a good time. And I hope you did have a good time. So thank you guys for joining me. I know this one was a little bit challenging, but you did it. So I'm proud of you. And enjoy Mother's Day tomorrow. If you are doing this on the Saturday before Mother's Day. If you're not, enjoy tomorrow anyway. And I'm looking forward to seeing everybody's faces again. And I miss everybody. And happy painting. Bye.